Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's good, good people? We locked in today. We on here just for another random discussion. We got, me, my name I'm going by now is Mental Coach Kev. We got SoundOff the General in here as well, too. Today we talking about, what's that topic again? How to trust your
I trust your
intuition.
intuition. Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to start anything on that?
So,
Put the pressure on you. Put it on you, boy.
so when we talk about intuition, we're talking about that part of you, that sixth sense, that part of you that just goes off of your feelings, your emotions. And so your intuition, your gut feeling, I'm trying to think of the word to say, but your gut feeling. I think um when it comes to intuition, it's good that you pay attention to your gut feeling because they used to say, the old folks say, your gut feeling won't tell it lead you wrong. You
Hmm.
know, um, so for me, I've learned that a lot of times when something is off, I'll feel it in my spirit. Like I feel it within me, and it's like something like, nah, I don't feel no peace on it, no ease on it. And so it's kind of like it's a I would say kind of like it's a warning sign or it's a
Yeah.
get your attention, you know what I mean, like there's something that maybe I shouldn't be doing or I shouldn't do because it is you know sometimes things you don't even know about,
Hmm.
things you can't even see around the corner, but you just like the other day we were talking about going live and video another day,
Yep.
the other day, and someone just like, nah, that just need to do
What?
something different.
Yeah.
Um, it's interesting because I felt like your intuition, source or God will speak to you in many different facets, many different ways to get your attention.
Hmm.
Um, like for instance, synchronicities. You know what I mean? Like I think, for those that don't know what synchronicities are, they're like repeating numbers, or you see the same animal, or you see the same word over and over again. It's like God is trying to get your attention. And it's like to trust yourself.
It'll be
You
through
know,
confirmation. Yeah. Consider the
right, right,
confirmation too.
right,
Yeah.
right. And I think sometimes, one of our problems that we have as people is that we don't trust ourselves. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? We'd be like, something told me not to go that way. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And then you
Yep.
get a flat tire, or you know what I'm
That's what
saying, you
happened to
got
my
into
that's what happened to my brother. My bad cutting you off. So my brother
yeah,
had that experience where he said that he was getting ready to go to the gym or go somewhere and he was getting ready to uh something told him, you know, to
yeah,
keep straight, but he was like, man, he went ahead and like, I'm gonna go and bust this right and go this way. Soon as he bust that right, he ended up, I think, blowing out a couple tires, or a couple tires went flat from running over something, and he had to get them tires replaced. But he was like, man, I should have listened to, I should have listened to, God, or what told me that. And I know another guy who's he's a minister, I think, and he was able to share his testimony with me, and he was talking about this same thing of like following, your intuition, which, people look at it different ways. Hey, I consider it to be God talking to you.
yeah.
And people, try to understand and distinguish the voice between God and your internal head voice. We'll talk about that in a moment. But that minister was telling me that he had this experience with this female, and he said, they was having a good time, and it came to the point to where they was, getting ready to, possibly have sex or whatever. And he said that something told him not to do it. And he said, man, I just didn't follow it. I just ended up doing it anyway, which ended up being, I think he contracted herpes from that particular situation.
Mm.
So that's the severity of, not listening to your intuition, not listening to God. Now, you can attach to whatever name you want to attach to it. I'm going to say God. And I know people have different beliefs
Right.
and different belief systems, but that particular voice, and I would hear people talk about, God talking to them before in life, as I go through and in the studio, it might be a pastor that'll come through or a minister or somebody that's, in a certain religion or Christian or whatever. And I'm like, hey, you say God talk to you? Yeah, God be talking to me. He talk to me all the time. I'm like, okay, well, how is God's voice? Like, I don't feel like God talk to me. Like, what does God sound like? Is it a voice in your head? Do you hear a voice in your ear? And people would tell me so many different things, so it started to confuse me, But then
Right.
I got to the point to where I might, one particular thing that stuck out was, I think I was in the shower one day, and then the word, the S word of, taking yourself out, I don't want to say the
Mhm.
word on here. I don't
Right.
know if it will flag anything, but the S word of like intentionally taking your own self out came to in my mind. But how I explain it to people is that it had a different texture than the other, my internal head voice. So I knew something was different to it. I was like, man, there's something serious with this. It's some severity to this particular word of how it came, because it came with a different energy than what I'm used to. So then I started checking on people around me. I had my wife like, hey, check on your people, make sure everybody good. And then one of my family members ended up telling me like, hey, I was about you, that exact same day. So when I seen how serious that was, is when I started paying more attention to that voice. And I will say this: it's not always a voice to everyone. It might be uh, a voice, or it might sound like a head voice or something, actually a person's actual voice coming to you, because I heard it different ways with different people. Or it might just be a gut
An
feeling.
idea or
Yeah.
idea. Yeah.
Uh-huh. The thing is, they say that, I guess, the more you listen to God, and listening to God, I guess, is actually taking into account and putting into action what God gives you. The more that happens, then the more the conversation gets clear, and the more you can distinguish and recognize that voice. Like, okay, when I followed that, that thing felt a little bit different, when I followed that voice, then, oh, this good thing happened, or I avoided this. So the thing is, starting to, try your best to distinguish, that voice or energy different from, your internal regular head voice that's be going on or whatever. And by actually acting out, and, and going with the feeling of what's good, and then seeing the result of it, then it'll cause you to get in the space of knowing more, and having a deeper relationship and connection with God.
Yeah, I feel that, man, because like, you know, it's interesting. We have those moments where we're not sure, whether it's God or not to us. But one thing I've kind of learned is like, for myself, if there is a peace about it,
Mm,
you know what I'm saying? If there is a peace in my spirit, in my mind, in my heart, then it's usually that feels like that's God speaking to me, and that's the direction of this is the way I should go, or this is the way I should move. But if I feel, reluctance, resistance, kind
mm-hmm,
of like something it feels off, then it's probably a good indication that whatever it is, I need to leave that alone or not do it.
mm-hmm.
Uh, it's so funny. We were talking earlier. I felt like, when I mentioned the idea, sometimes you get the idea, hey, you need to check on somebody. Hey, or, what I mean? Hey, it could be, idea out the blue. And like, man, maybe I should do that. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Yep.
Like, I think it comes in all types of facets and ways. It could be a song. You know what I mean? It could be, asking God, hey, what do I need to do right now? You know what
Yep.
I mean? And hearing a song, and it's like, okay, I had a friend that was thinking about taking himself out, and the song "Don't Worry, Be Happy"
Mm,
came to him.
mm-hmm.
And from this day, that is his favorite song because it helped him when he was at his lowest point.
And actually might be a song that he's able to play now when he's going through those moments, like just as a reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, listening to that intuition is definitely important. Listening to what God is telling you, because, like you said, it might be an inclination of like, okay, individual comes across your mind, and it's crazy because I had a number of different situations like that, and now I act on it. So once I started to act on it, at first, to where a name will come across my mind, or somebody I know will come across my heart, and I'm like, let me check on that individual. And once I would do it, that person would be like, man, you just called me right on time because I'm going through this. Da, da, da. Man, your
Yeah.
ears must have been ringing. You know how people say that stuff.
Yeah.
Your ears must have been ringing. So that happened. I'm like, okay, it's something to this. And so it just started to get stronger. Then now when people come across my mind, I try to make it my duty to try to stop what I'm doing if I'm not doing too much, and hit them up. And then now people tell me like, man, you got this, man, this crazy type of, the moments that you hit me up, man, it's like, you starting to spook me from, the times that you hit me when I got, something going on, or where you call me or text me right in the moment. And one thing that just happened was my cousin, she's an actress. So she came across my mind the other day, and I'm like, man, for some reason, I just want to hear her voice to make sure she okay. And I'm like,
Right.
let me just call. Let me stop and call. So I call. What's going on, cuz? I just want to hear your voice, make sure you're good. Oh, cuz, your timing is just impeccable. I don't know how it be like this. It's like, and she like, hey, I was supposed to go to acting class, but I was wondering, something was telling me like, hey, I shouldn't go. I felt like I shouldn't go. And I want to make sure, I'm like, is that God talking to me, or is it just me trying to sabotage myself to not go and, be greater or whatever, just to be lazy
Right.
today? And she said that she asked God, she was like, hey, God, if you would make somebody, yell in this complex over here to give me as a sign for me to know that it's not for me to go. And she said that she ended up leaving her complex or whatever, and then she left out the apartment building. She said that this pigeon flew by her, and I'm kind of telling the story to my best ability of what I remember. But she said this pigeon flew by her real fast, and it kind of confused her. She was like, "Dang, what's going on? Why did that do that?" And as she's kind of puzzled, she turns around and walks back towards the apartment door and hear all these people screaming. She said, "Take in mind that, or yelling or whatever." She said, "Take in mind that doesn't happen in her complex because she stays in a kind of richer area." And so she said that caused her to go back into her place. And she laid down in the bed and just kind of chilled out. And as she did that, is here I come calling.
Right.
So that show you the importance of listening. And then I guess if you kind of confused on what the answer is, just pray to kind of see what happens after that.
Yeah, and then sometimes, with your intuition, you kind of have to be patient and wait, what I'm saying, for the answer. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? A lot of times, God will speak to you, but it's all the extracurriculars that you got going on that you may not be able to distinguish and recognize the voice. You may not be able to recognize, what your internal is saying. You know what I'm saying? And so it's important to wait sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you get peace in your spirit to move on, and sometimes you just gotta be patient and wait a little bit, because the things that are being prepared at times, the details are being intricately woven.
Mm-hmm.
I have um a friend who's gone through a lot of stuff, and I was just telling her the other day, like, it's it's being woven.
Mm-hmm.
Things are working out and by design and not by happen chance of being put together, and it's working out in a way that's better than what you could even expect. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes you have to trust your intuition and know that everything is working out for your good.
Yep. And giving you it that's basically faith, huh? So having that faith of knowing that even in the dark times that okay, things are still working out for my good. And that faith can cause you actually to take a step back and actually listen to what's going on. Because you mentioned listening earlier, like actually being able to take that time out to actually listen. Some people do it through prayers, and you have to stop all of the madness and what's going on in the
Right.
world. You being consumed and moved to and fro of work to calls to eating to whatever type of things that go on in your life. Taking a step back from that to actually have your ears open to be able to listen. And what be working for me a lot is meditation. So I've been meditating every day for 5+ years or so, which
Mhm.
started off as a little challenge. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do a 30-day meditation challenge or wellness challenge. Go out in nature, meditate, blah blah blah. The thing that I stuck with me was meditating. Excuse me, every day for the past 5 years. And I noticed during meditation is when I would get that intuition more. I feel like God would speak to me more as I'm sitting up there in that still moment of prayer, or just being there as a vessel to actually listen to what's going on. So that's part of it. Actually, setting the time aside to actually listen, to stop talking, stop, doing, and stop being moved to and fro by the world, to just sit there and listen to what God has for you. It's like that's what's been beneficial for me. And then in
Yeah,
the moments, it's just like a lot of magical stuff happen. Go ahead.
yeah. I was just gonna say it definitely does when you actually take the time to, you know, be patient and cut off the extracurricular, because there are some times where I shut everything out just to be able to focus, you know what I'm saying, and to be able to tap in and to tap in with my gut and my spirit, you know what I'm saying, to know what to do. And it's like I've noticed, you know it's like there's also the element of with that faith is like of speaking that, setting that intention,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, I'm kind of getting off track, but I was gonna say, like, with your intuition, like it's important to trust within. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Trust and know that it's all gonna work out. It's all gonna take place the way it's supposed to. You know what I'm saying? It's that confidence in it.
Hmm.
And the more that you do that, like you said, it works out for your good.
Yep. I come to realize, man, that our deepest connection, this is my opinion, hey, take it, leave it, whatever. My opinion is that going inward is our closest connection to God. Like,
I
we
agree.
are all individually connected to God in the greatest way, but sometimes, don't get me wrong, you get knowledge from exterior sources. You might go to church, you might go here, you might be at a men's group, a women's group, and then get a lot of information, or a mentor might give you some cool stuff. But actually going inside is your deepest and closest connection to your true soul, spirit, and to which is the closest connection to God. So taking that time to, whether it's taking a bath, whether it's meditation, whether it's going out in nature, sometimes it's fishing for some people, whatever they might be
Yeah.
doing, and you going out and you get in that receptive state to be able to hear God more. And once I started to meditate more and just kind of take that time and allocate that time, man, then the intuition started to kick up and turn up. Then before you know it, it's almost like a gift of prophecy started to show itself to me,
Mm.
which is pretty interesting. And to be able to have things come across, come through you from God, and then see that to happen later on in life, or to be able to have a word for an individual. And at the end of the day, it's still, that portion of, listening to God is what actually started that whole event, which might be a message for you personally or a message for another person. But back to your closest connection, like I say, going inside, actually taking time to pray, to go within, to ask God what's specific for you, because we all individuals that express ourselves in different ways. We have different languages. We have different languages
Right.
inside of languages. We get different lingos, you know what I'm saying? People got all those different things going on, and we have different minds. So in order for you to comprehend or get it in your particular way, it might take you to go within, actually pray, uh, take some downtime to actually open your ears and listen, and then you might get that message that's specifically tailored to you as an individual, to you as an individual soul and particular spirit. So, hey, my suggestion would be, hey, gonna take you some time. I know people on here now. Life is busy. You probably scrolling down Facebook or whatever. Somebody might pass this or actually accidentally click this if you tune in and listen to this portion here. What are you doing to spend that time with God, with going deeper into spirit? Are you taking time to do that? Are you taking time to do it daily? Are you taking time to do it weekly, monthly? When was the last time you did it? How much time does it
Yeah.
really take? You know what I mean? You have a conversation with anybody that call you on the phone. You take time out to call people that you want to talk to, whether it's your best friend or whoever it might be. But what about that time to, hey, let me speak with God in this moment. Let me sit here and ask God a question and then sit back and listen. Because they say we got two ears and one mouth, right? So we should listen more than we speak.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It definitely, you got to take that time to center yourself and focus and tap into that inner being within you. It's so funny. My friend would tell me this story of her grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
and she would talk about how she would come to him with certain problems,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "Trust yourself."
Uh-huh.
Trust yourself. I trust you. You know what I mean? Like, and I felt like that was so powerful because he's instilling her in an early age. Trust your intuition. Trust your gut.
Yep.
Trust everything within you. And sometimes, like that poem says, the greatest fear is not fear outside of you, is fear for who you are.
Mm-hmm. Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like sometimes we're scared to be right,
Mm-hmm.
or we're scared to be wrong, or we're
Yep.
scared of failure. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
We just have fear in general. You
It
know what I
is.
mean? But like it's knowing that you got this. You know what I'm saying? No matter what situation comes, no matter what you face, no trusting and knowing I'm good, I'm
Mm-hmm.
protected, I'm loved, I'm cared for. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
I think when it comes to trusting our intuition, I feel like it's vital, especially with the way things are going on, and like it's important. There's a lot of people trying to get you sway your attention one way or the other. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Shifting your focus on something else, and it's like you need to spend this time. Well, okay, what do I need to do?
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to focus on? What do I need to go after? What do I
Mm-hmm.
need to create? You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? What do I need to let go? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like God will try to get your attention in several different ways. You know what I'm saying? Like we said before, it could be music, it could be ideas, it could be a phone call, it could be, you know what I'm saying, a commercial, it could be something that you read. You know what I mean? It could be just any, just a feeling. And I
Yep.
think one time you and I talked about that before was like, how sometimes before you had words, you had feelings.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I think
Before
you're
you
the
had
one that
work.
told me, yeah, before you had words, you had feelings. You
Yep.
told me that.
So
And
I
it's
started.
like,
Go ahead. I'm
go
listening.
ahead. No, no, go
I
ahead.
started noticing to pay attention to those feelings that come up. Like people talk about, hey, that my gut feeling, and I have a close partner that's gonna be the richest black person in the world, but he mentions how trusting his gut feeling is never steered him wrong. So I always mention this, that before we had words, we had feelings. We had to try to explain how this feeling felt. Okay, I feel this type of, I guess I'm gonna call it love. I feel this, I'm feeling, I guess I'm gonna call it frustration. We had to attach words to it. And to this day, those words and feelings mean different things to different individuals. So frustration might look different from me than it looks for you. Like today, I was working with, I went out in the street today, man, and me and Jared, Burner Boy, we ended up going to do some negative emotional release for a random person outside on the street. And I'm like, man, wouldn't it be cool to do something with a person that's homeless out, to kind of help them in that way? People might give them money or food here and there, but what about food for thought or helping them to, alleviate some negative emotion, so to speak?
Right.
So, man, it was the first time that we ever did it. We just in a run and gun situation. We've been supposed to do it for weeks and weeks back, but it would rain every single day. It rained every day for the past month or so that we would decide to do it. Or even it snowed one time, I think. So we end up going out today, man, and just ran up on this random guy, man. I think his name was Bill. And I was like, hey, this is our first time doing this, but, is there any, negative emotion that's plaguing you, like fear, anger, guilt, sadness, hurt, grief? And he mentioned that, he said, man, all of them. He said, I lost my family, I lost my home, and started getting emotional behind it, man. It's like, and it was a powerful thing. Like once he edits it, then I'll be able to post it on here. But it was a powerful session, man. So right there, as we standing at the cross section of McCain and whatever that street is over there by, I don't know if it's Smoky Lane or whatever it is, over by Walmart in North Little Rock. We right over there at the bus stop bench over there with this guy. He has his cart in front of him. He just sitting up there chilling, and man, he just started getting emotional behind it. And I attached the word of, I was like, what would you name it? Would it be fear, anger, guilt, sadness, hurt? Which or grief? Which one would explain that emotion that you're dealing with? And he was kind of trying to, he had a hard time trying to figure it out, which I ended up asking him. I'm like, hey, it sounds like grief to me. Would that sound like, something to, work? And he mentioned that grief was good. And so that was my point, that, grief might be different thing to a different individual. Grief might be, oh man, I lost a loved one. A grief might be, oh, I just got divorced from my wife of 20 or 30 years that I got all of my kids with. Grief might be, man, I just lost my house and my family, but in a way to where I sabotaged it myself. You know, Anger might be a different thing for different individuals, because some people just turn up off of just, man, okay, I get cut off in traffic. Okay, I'm the rage thing might be the anger thing for them, or a person that has PTSD that just came back from, the military and had a number of war situations, which I know some gentlemen that's like that, that's battling with that particular emotion from that. So it's specific to each individual. We try to label it with these names, but at the end of the day, you know specifically how you feel. So the thing is going inside and trying to figure out what those feelings mean, trying to distinguish those negative feelings versus a great, good feeling that God might be giving you. If you take time to turn down the noise and then go inside and reflect, whether it's prayer or taking a bath or shower or going out in nature, fishing, whatever, and take that time to listen, then the more you do it, the more you'll be able to distinguish those different things and what they mean to you specifically.
Yeah, I feel that, man. Yeah,
What's up?
that was powerful. That was powerful. Yeah, I was just thinking about like, so. my time with comedic spirituality, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was able to, it taught me how to look at the Bible differently.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because there, I don't want to go too deep or offend nobody, but
Yeah.
but like one of the things that's powerful to this day from a different perspective for me is like be still and know that I am God. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Um, when Jesus would when Jesus would preach, he would say, you know what I'm saying, I and the Father are one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so he would say things like the kingdom of heaven is within
Mm-hmm.
or ye are gods. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so I said all that to bring this forward is that be still and know that I'm God. Be still and know you are divine.
Mm-hmm.
You are God's child. You are special. You're divine. You're created. You're loved. You're protected. Trust that.
Mm-hmm. What you said, and
You know,
go ahead.
nah, I was gonna say like one of my absolutely positively favorite verses from the Bible, even though I don't prescribe to that faith anymore, is you are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were designed, created like perfectly,
Mm-hmm.
perfectly. So it's like, you know, back to my friend, trust yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you know, when situations may arise or may come up, trust them gut feelings. Trust that idea. Trust your first mind. You know what I'm saying? Like if your first mind saying, nah, you shouldn't go, or nah, I shouldn't do, or you know, maybe I need to wait, or maybe I need to calm down first, or you know, maybe I need to go to the park and you know, relax or something. Trust that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
You mentioned a fearfully and wonderfully made. Most definitely. I think when people can subscribe to and tap into the idea of how special of a person they are. When you can have that sort of excitement and amazement in reference to yourself and reverence to
Right.
yourself, then that will cause you to actually reflect that on other people. Because to change the world, you got to change yourself first. Because you're gonna move out
Exactly.
in the world. Excuse me, looking through the lens of how you feel, looking through the lens of what you see. And then to add on what you said earlier, I know I don't know what scripture it is, but I heard it when we was in Bible study the other Thursday about you know God's children will hear His voice and know His voice, be able to distinguish it,
Right.
right? So
Right.
you become more, to be more of, God's child when you actually can distinguish that voice, start to be able to distinguish that voice from other voices or from your internal head voice, to be able to tell the difference. Because to this day, what I'm saying, how, our mamas get to, even when we was a kid,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sometimes even to this day, yell your name in the midst of a crowd. It's like, oh, ears perk up. You know what I'm saying? You hear your mama or
Yeah.
your dad yell your name or that voice of theirs. You know what I'm saying? So it's like in the midst of a entire massive crowd, then a person can determine and distinguish their parent's voice or their caregiver's voice. I know some people ain't able to be with their actual biological parents, but their
Right.
immediate caregivers is the same thing. It might be grandma, grandpa. You know what I'm saying? Auntie, uncle, brother, sister, whoever it is, but they can distinguish their voice. So that's part of it. This learning to distinguish that voice, and as you act, as you move in a certain way, as you following what you feel more, following the feeling that feels the best, that feels good. Now, when I say feels good, I mean feels right. Let's say that, because you might be like, okay, I'm fixing to have this, like the guy that the minister that contracted herpes, and unfortunately, he probably felt like it was gonna feel good to what I'm saying, have that sexual event, but that right part of his mind, that mind that he can tell was the right voice, that he said he pushed past it anyway. He's like, man, I sure hate that I did, because now I got something I have to deal with for the rest of my life, unfortunately. So listening to that voice. Let's see. We didn't did well today. We got a number of people that then tuned on, man. We appreciate y'all for watching. I see. I don't know if people want their names called out, but everybody that's on, man, we want to thank y'all for tuning in. We got, if you want to find out more about us, you can go to Sound Off the General. You want to tell them how to find you?
Yeah, you can find me Sound Off the General on all social media. SoundOffTheGeneral.com is coming.
Okay. And then you can find me on mentalcoachkev.com. And I have my social media stuff on there as well. If you want to book a session with me, like to get some mental services, I got a couple of things that I'm offering on there. And one of the processes is the mental and emotional release process, which will help a person get rid of they past negative attachment to a negative emotion such as fear, anger, guilt, sadness, hurt, or even limiting beliefs and decisions. And we can do that in a matter of minutes. And that's the thing, that the process that I did with that homeless gentleman today. And I can't wait for y'all to see the video, man. And appreciate Jared Burner for filming it, man. And he was like, bro, once you watch this back, I'm sure it's gonna cause you to get emotional. And I was like, man, I was getting emotional during it. And what's cool about it is, at the end, he was looking like, man, how did you do that? You know. And this guy was in tears. We had to take a break at one point in a while. For he was like, can I go get some tissue? He wanted to take a break because, man, imagine losing your family, losing your home, man. That's a lot to deal with, you know. So he was dealing with that, battling with that. And then at the end, I was telling him thank you for allowing me to work with him. And he was like, no, thank you, you know, and I appreciate it, you know, anything that people do for me. And, you know, people, you know, help me out from time to time. And I really enjoy when people come and pray with me. And I was like, man, can I pray with you right now? And he was like, you know, he was, you know, happy to hear that, excited to hear it, and said, yes, you know, put my hand on that gentleman's shoulder, man. And we prayed right there as cars was passing on McCain and all of that stuff going on. We had a moment of peace in the midst of all of that, you know, ruckus going on with the cars and all of that. And that's part of it. So thinking of peace in the midst of the ruckus. So you got a lot of ruckus going on in your life right now. A lot of us do. But taking time to just go in, and what we did, we closed our eyes and pray, reset, close your eyes and pray, take that moment. And then in that moment, the magic happens, you know, and then you'll notice that in that moment of prayer or meditation, or whatever you want to call it, closing your eyes and focusing inward, then a lot of that ruckus and turmoil will kind of turn down and you'll lose sight of it, right? And then you open your eyes up. Oh, a magical event didn't happen. Excuse me. But yeah. Man, definitely, you know, always a pleasure being on with you today, bro. I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
Yes,
I feel
sir.
like we've been on here for a while, so we hope everybody have an amazing day, man. Like we say, bless yourself, man. First, do something good for yourself. Work on making yourself better, and then you will be even in a better, greater space to go out in the world and help somebody else. And then helping somebody else, it's a cycle because that helps you as well, right? So
Right.
you helping yourself, then you going out being a better version of yourself for other people that you're helping. You're helping that individual, and as helping that individual, you're helping yourself as well. That's all I got. What you got, sound off? You want to close us out, man, completely?
Man, y'all take it easy. Y'all take care. Remember to trust yourself. You know that you are it. You are divine. You are created, loved, and protected. Trust that.
Man, well said. Most definitely. As I realized that, I didn't even press record on here, but hey, I guess we got to record it on Facebook, man. Hopefully y'all tuned in. If you tuned in, thank you. Y'all be blessed. We out.